Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server for Hornet Sting, and we're having a look at a little boy that is coming in the next major update. This is the Pz.Sp.Wg.P204 PaK, and basically what this is an AMD 35, which has an open top turret on it with the long-barreled 50mm that the Germans used. It was captured, or the AMD 35s were captured during the invasion of France and also the subjugation of France by the Germans, and they rearmed them. They did this with a lot of French vehicles. The B1s also had some fun modifications that hopefully in the future we shall see. Now, this vehicle is not just coming to the German tech tree, it's also coming to the French tech tree, because obviously it's half French, half German. And in the French tech tree, it's called the AMD 35 PaK. They are absolutely identical and both rank to battle rating 2.7. The only difference is obviously they're in different tech trees and in different areas. So you can see the French one is between the AMC 35 ACG1 and the Crusader Mark II, and also at the same BR as it, which is kind of interesting. For Germany, it's also on the left-hand side, so it's between the Panzer 38Ts and also the STKFC 2342. One of the funny things about this Pz.Sp.Wg.P204 is they actually said that they wanted to kind of fill a gap and have a rank 2 light tank scout for Germany. But they actually added in this vehicle previously, I believe, at rank 2 to be that scout, and then they just moved it down to rank 1. So therefore, that kind of left a hole. They also used to have the Puma at a lot lower BR, and now that's obviously a lot higher, so therefore this machine comes in now to replace it. This has exactly the same gun as the Puma, by the way. So if you're used to the Puma, you're used to this. And it has a very good reload, and also the one thing that this long-barreled 50mm has is good muzzle velocity and good penetration too. You can see with the PZGR39 round, which you get stock and is the best round, you have up to 106mm of penetration, which is incredibly good for 2.7. You also get some APCR rounds, which do penetrate more on a flat surface, but also penetrate less on an angled surface, and also don't do as much post-penetration effect, so it's usually better just to run the APC and then scout to be able to deal with heavier targets. This vehicle does have access to the improved optics and also the airstrike ability. If you enjoy getting into aircraft, it's much easier to do so in this than the medium tanks that are around this BR. Now, some of its other factors. It has a 4-man crew. You have 2 drivers, one in the back, one in the front. You also have access to a gunner and a loader, which are on both of these sides. You only have 18 rounds of ammunition, which is not a lot for this type of vehicle, especially since this is more of a plinky-plonky gun. What I mean by this is what you'll end up doing is you'll penetrate a target, your post-penetration effect won't be as good, and then you'll have to finish it off with another shell. So having only 18 really kind of sucks. If you compare that to the Puma, this one has 55 rounds of 50mm KWK 39. So that's the big limitation of this machine. The other part of it is also it's open topped, so it'll get nuked by planes and pretty much everything else. Now, the armor on this is nothing to write home about. You have 26mm at most here. You also have 20mm on the front, plus 15mm in the general setup. You also have access to 15 on the sides and the booty, so you'll get machine gun to death. Watch out for 50 cals, you will just die, because they pen more than that. And also at the same time, the gun is not stabilized. It has a fantastic targeting speed. The 21 degrees per second or 25 degrees per second when it's aced, and also 6 degrees of elevation is actually really good. You don't have anything else though. You don't have any smokes, you don't have a coaxial gun, you don't have anything extra apart from the scouting. One thing I do want to mention is this really cool model at the back. So you have the engine, which is 105 horsepower, but look at this radiator and how they've actually built it. They've actually made the fan on it and also the kind of belt to attach it to the engine too. I really like the fact that they put so much effort into these kind of detailed x-rays, and you can also see here the power system in the booty too, plus the exterior fuel tanks. You also have the radio station here as well, so whoever's modeled the interiors of this should be super happy. You also have this piece of armor, which is the rolled homogeneous armor. Technically, this should give you extra survivability, but come on, it's 7mm. It's not gonna have a great time with it. Now, at the BR range, you do have some other vehicles that you can bring with it. You have obviously all of the 2.3s that are at rank 1, and then you also have the Panzer III J1, which also has the long-barreled 50 to give you a little bit of extra support. This one also, I believe, has the additional armor on the front of it, which definitely helps it out. And then for France at 2.7, you have the Stuart and you have the Crusader. So now you have a really fun 3 sets of light tanks that you can bring along with stuff like the P40 as a bit of cast support. So both lineups are super fun and really enjoyable. I wish this thing had access to smokes, just to give it a bit more kind of survivability. One of the issues with this type of vehicle is being able to kind of reposition effectively, which is one of those that, isn't always easy to do. And with that repositioning, you have a pretty good transmission to be able to fly about the place and do that with. So at least you have that. But imagine if you had like smokes and you were able to put like a smoke in front of you and then you could just kind of move around and people won't know where you are. The other thing is against kind of CAS elements, you also won't be able to hide from them. There is nothing that you can do. You will just die. And that just kind of makes me sad. That is not something that I enjoy, especially at the lower tiers, especially since there's a lot of vehicles now which do have access to no armor at all, and they just get nuked by CAS elements. So this will be another one where you want to spawn it first, you want to be aggressive with it, you want to go around, and you want to do damage with it, and then when the CAS comes in, you want to hide. And because if you don't, you will just die over and over and over again, which shouldn't be surprising. So as I said, the targeting speed on the gun at 2.7 is actually pretty good. The mobility of it as well is pretty decent forward and backwards. It does have kind of a funny driver's port at the front of it too. And the gun itself being the 50mm means that you can pretty much go through everything at your BR and do quite a lot of damage. They did also bring back the old gun sounds, if you didn't know. So that's kind of pretty fun. But even in like a full up tier against stuff like a T-34, you can pen the cheeks of it if you are a lot better shot than I am. And you can still, hurt the vehicle and go through and attack, what is there. But you also, at the same time, can just scout it, move on, and then go to the next area. I wish this thing had a machine gun. I wish it had, some other kind of setups, but this is going to be one of those where you play, you get a flank on, you hammer the enemy, you scout everything, and you give your team the advantage that it needs to be able to win the battle. And I think in general that's actually really cool and something that generally is needed at these kind of lower tiers of the game. Things that give your team a bit of a front foot attack, and then from there you can just have a pretty decent time with it. You can see with the upper glacis of something like a T-34, you won't be able to go through, but if you are able to aim at the turret and hit the cheek, you'll go straight through on both sides if you're a better aim than I am when it comes to the vehicle. So even in stuff in a full up tier like this, you'll be able to deal with them in a good way. So yeah, this is another of the fun AMD series. And I hope in the future we actually get more of these types of vehicles for the Germans and also for the French, because they are unique, they are interesting, and they do give you a nice little spice of life instead of just being vehicles which are, copy-pastes of other ones that come through. So, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.